So first of all, I would just like to make everyone very welcome to the Education Committee session here, and we're delighted to be here at the Clandeboye Estate, and we're going to be hearing from various representatives from the forest schools sector. So it's really great to be here. Thank you for the warm welcome that we've had today and for your hospitality. And it's a real pleasure to be here, and we're looking forward to learning a bit more about your work as we go through the agenda. There's a little bit of formal business to go through first, which I'll work through, and then we'll be moving over to our Evans session from the NI Forest School Association and from some schools working in partnership with them as well. So item 1 on the agenda is apologies. So I have apologies today from Cara Hunter and Kate Nichol. They couldn't be with us today. Moving on to item 2, which is chairperson's business. So a couple of things, and I'll deal with this very quickly, is first of all just to advise committee members that for anyone who wasn't able to attend, that there was an informal briefing held on Tuesday morning with representatives from the Board of Governors from St Mary's Primary School at 5 Mile Town, and that had a focus around sustainable schools policy, particularly in rural areas, and a focus on area planning considerations. And a formal note of that meeting will be provided in next week's committee pack, where we can consider actions arising from that. We also had a ministerial statement in the Chamber this week, and that was in relation to a capital investment programme in special educational needs. And that was broadly welcomed across the Chamber, and I think the committee we've already discussed in our closed session earlier that we'll be planning to seek more detail on how that capital programme is going to be delivered. I'm certainly conscious that a lot of the special schools that I've spoken to have heard a lot of promises in previous years around capital development and haven't seen that delivered. So I think we're all really keen to make sure that there is now delivery following that announcement, which was welcomed in the Chamber. Item 3 on the agenda is just declaration of interest. So I just want to check if any members have any declarations of interest today, given our location or the briefings we're receiving. Anything new to add to that? No? That's grand. And then moving on to item 4, and that is matters arising. So I would want to just refer members to page 12 and pages 3 to 5 of table. So page 12 of your packs and pages 3 to 5 of your table papers. And that was correspondence from an individual regarding correspondence that was considered at last week's committee meeting, and that was specifically in relation to special educational needs provision post-19. At that meeting, the committee had agreed to forward correspondence to the Economy Committee, who has responsibility for this area, and we wrote to the individual thanking them for their correspondence. They've come back to the committee to say that they'd also written to the Ministers of Education and Health and copied us in, and they were particularly interested in knowing what the Education Committee planned to do with the correspondence other than those other departments. So I would want to suggest to members just a couple of things. The first is we have our concurrent meeting coming up with the Economy Committee in May, so at the end of this month. Are members happy, first of all, that we ensure that those issues around SEND provision post-19 are raised as a matter of on the agenda at that committee meeting, and that we inform the correspondent in relation to that? Are members agreed? And also, I'd spoken with the clerk separately to this prior to the meeting, but it's just to check in on members' agreement on this. The correspondent has specifically raised some legislation from England in relation to health and educational care plans for young people leaving the education system who have special educational needs, and I wondered whether it would be possible to seek a briefing from RAISE on that specific legislation, and maybe whether there are gaps in our provision here in terms of actually what statutory duties we actually have for young people in their educational journey beyond 19. Members agree we follow that up with RAISE?
Agreed.
Yeah. Okay, that's great. And if we could let the correspondent know that those actions have been taken forward. Item 5.
Also worth highlighting that with economy, based on, generally sort of our education beyond 19 is sort of under economy in that sense. I'm not saying that that's where it should sit automatically. No, absolutely. But just
our agreement last week was to write to the Economy Committee, so that we will be getting a response back from Economy, and I think it's important that that for the correspondent who'd been in touch, that they're aware when we write to another committee we're absolutely expectant of a response, and that we will, we will be following that up based on whatever comes back. So absolutely, we have taken that aspect of it forward. Draft minutes is item 5 in the agenda, so that's in your packs at page 16. So can I just get members' agreement that the minutes are a complete and accurate record of proceedings? Is that agreed? Is there a copy to sign? Okay, moving on to item 6 on the agenda there, and that is correspondence. So those are the items of correspondence to be found at pages 24 to 133, and with 13 items of correspondence, plus there was one other item that came in tabled papers. So I'll take through just in the normal process any items where I think we need agreement from members, and everything else I propose we deal with just as per the clerk's note in your papers. Item 6.2, page 27, that's a response from the Department of Education on its strategies, policies and plans supporting students with long COVID. Are members content that we share that correspondence with, I think there were a number of people had brought those concerns to our attention, that we share that with the correspondence and seek their views in relation to that? Is the committee agreed?
Agreed.
Item 6.8, page 51, it's correspondence from the Bright Futures project, Peaches, seeking a meeting with the committee on SEN issues. I've had the opportunity to meet with that group previously, and certainly I think they have an awful lot as a group of really engaged parents to say in this space, so I would be very happy to invite them to an informal meeting. They have expressed interest in that. Are members agreed that we extend an invite? Members agreed? Mm-hmm. Yeah. Item 6.9, page 52, is correspondence from the Belfast area Sure Start managers, providing briefing papers and raising concerns about funding for Sure Start in Northern Ireland. Are members content that we write to Sure Start, thank them for their submission, and advise that we will be sharing their correspondence with the department to seek their views in relation to the specific concerns highlighted, and also that we're very happy at the briefing on the 5th of June from officials in relation to the early years and early learning and childcare strategy, that we can highlight those concerns in that forum as well. Members agreed?
Agreed.
Item 6.10, page 120, correspondence from Melted Parents NI seeking urgent intervention to support childcare. Are members content again, given that we have a childcare and early years strategy briefing on the 5th of June, are we content that we write to Melted Parents to reaffirm the committee's continued interest and engagement on this issue and childcare reform and highlight the session that we have coming up in relation to that? Members agreed?
Agreed.
Item 6.11, page 121, correspondence from Retail NI seeking a meeting with the Committee on School Uniform Costs. Are members content we respond to Retail NI and offer an informal briefing to committee? Members agreed?
Agreed.
Item 6.13, page 127, that's correspondence from Causeway Neurodiversity, raising concerns about access to educational psychology time in terms of that competition between school and parental referral, and they feel that the correspondence they've received back from Department and EA contains some disparities around the process. Are members content that we share that correspondence with EA and DE and seek clarity on the points of concern and disparity that they've raised? Yep. Members agreed? Item 6.14, page 133, it's further correspondence from St Malachy's Youth Centre, who have been in touch with the committee on a number of occasions around youth service funding in particular, and they're sharing their response to the Education Authority. They're sharing a response they received from the Education Authority. We'd like to seek members' views on the matter. We're hoping to have a youth services briefing on the committee agenda fairly soon, so we would have the option of raising St Malachy's concerns in that forum, and I'm happy to propose that we dispose of the correspondence in that way, but if members have any other views of anything else they would like to do with it, Danny, do you want to come in?
We have the regional bodies in. I think they are a member of Youth Work Alliance anyway, so that will be covered.
Okay, so you're content that we maybe respond to St Malachy's to say that we're going to be having a wide briefing from stakeholders in the youth services space. Okay, that's grand. Members agreed? Item 6.15, so that was the item just provided in your table papers, and it came in quite late today, so apologies if members haven't had the opportunity to read that. But it's further correspondence from Downey House parents highlighting some specific issues that they wanted to ensure were in the correspondence that we sent from the committee to the department. I would suggest that I don't think the correspondence has gone yet, so if members are agreed, some specific issues around how the sustainable schools policy is operating, I think particularly in terms of using enrolment numbers as a measure of sustainability. They'd asked us to highlight that aspect of their correspondence in particular. So if members are agreed with that, can I seek agreement? Members agreed that we highlight that? And I would suggest we also let the parents know that we had received a briefing from another group on sustainable schools related and area planning related issues, and that we're certainly happy, as we assured that group, that we will raise the Downey House parents' concerns when we receive a briefing from the department on area planning issues. Members agreed? Mm-hmm. Okay. Thank you for your patience going through that, and apologies for our witnesses here today. This is all very procedural, but the business has to be done. We'll work through it as quickly as we can. Item 7 I don't think should take us very much time, as we covered this in detail in our strategic planning session earlier, and that is our forward work programme. Updated draft forward work programme is at page 136. I'm not going to ask Clark to speak to it unless we feel there's anything in particular needs to be highlighted, as we have had a conversation in relation to this. Are members content that we endorse the draft forward work programme as before us, and we'll follow up from the items we dealt with in closed session from there? So members agreed? Agreed. Okay, that really concludes the formal business. So we are now on to item 9 of the agenda, which is our briefing from the Northern Ireland Forest School Association. So just to reiterate, I'm absolutely delighted to be here and be able to bring committee here to a beautiful setting today. I think we discovered that a couple of members here actually had their wedding celebrations in this venue, so it's a bit of a trip down memory lane, certainly for me. So it is really great to be here, and thank you for your hospitality.
Richard lived near me, just seeing where he's moved to, so...
Yes, I believe there maybe have some former neighbours in the room as well. So it's definitely a very, very convivial setting for all those reasons. So thank you very much, and thank you for your hospitality here today. Members will have a briefing paper from the committee clerk at page 213 of their papers, and that's from the Department of Education, NI Forest School, and the NI Forest School Association at page 215 of your papers. So in terms of welcome today, I'm welcoming you to somewhere that really it's not our venue, but to say it's great to have, we have Brian, who's behind me, the CEO of the Forest School Association. We have Richard McMeekin, the manager of Clandeboye Nature Rangers, Jim McDaid, principal at Hazelwood Integrated Primary, Emma Quinn, principal of Rathcoole Primary, and Ian Huddleston, trustee of Clandeboye Estate and Dufferin Foundation. We seem to be missing somebody off that list there, so just right. We'll hopefully have Ian here as we go through. So we have a bit of time set aside for a presentation from you guys. Appreciate there's a number of you here. And I can also see we have also Danielle and Caoimhe here as well. So sorry you weren't on my list of witnesses, but also great to have you here, and looking forward to hearing from you. I think we'd set aside 10 minutes for a presentation. There's a lot of you. I will maybe extend that a little bit to make sure we have time to hear from you in detail, because I know members are really keen to hear about the work of the forest schools, but also more broadly of how that applies not just in this setting, but in terms of what that looks like on the ground in a school setting. So we're really looking forward to the briefing. It might be a scenario we don't have a huge amount of time for questions on that basis, but I think it's important members actually hear from you about your work as the priority, and then whatever time we have for questions, we'll take that at the end. So I'm going to hand over to you, and we, I think, have a screen behind us with a presentation, so I'll get myself turned around to see that. And I'm not sure who's going first. Will it be yourself, Brian? Yeah, over to you.
So you might want to turn yourselves around and have a look at the screen. Thank you very much for coming today. It's a great honour to have you here today, so thank you very much. Hopefully it will be useful. We'll give you an overview as to what what we are about. I'm going to go quickly through the different programmes that we have, how we engage with schools. I'm not going to mention too much about the impact, because the impact is mentioned in the briefing papers. So if you look at the first page of your briefing papers, you will see some of the impact that we're having, that we have. Then I'm going to hand over to Richard. Richard's going to talk about Clandeboye Nature Rangers and what happens here, and some other relevant strategic papers as well. Then Jim's going to talk about Hazelwood, his experience, and Emma will talk about Rathcoole. So putting it very much, a focus on how forest skills is being used within the school and how beneficial it is. Okay, so I'm going to rattle on, just conscious of time. So I'm going to fly through these slides. Okay, so we are a charity established in 2008, registered company, and our mission statement is just to develop outdoor learning programs to get schools, to get teachers, to get families outside, re-engaging with nature. That's very much our brief. That's what we are about. Why we do it? Research shows, especially since COVID, and Jim and Emma are going to talk about this, that being outside has so many different beneficial attributes. So it's really, really important. And now we need it more than ever. Anxiety issues, pressures within school, teacher pressures. It's now more important than ever. So it's really important what we do. So these are some of the wee books that we produce. So our whole purpose is to support schools so as they can undertake outdoor learning in their own premises, or use local parks or somewhere like that. So let's hope this clicks in. So we produce little books that basically enable teachers. This Wi-Fi is very slow. There we go. Anyway, you get the idea. There are books that we produce that enable teachers to get outside. And how we do it? We have a website, and within the website there are lots of resources. There are lots of, take my word for it, there are lots of resources.
Just like
So our website basically has, it has books, it has research papers, it has outdoor lessons. There are something like 500 outdoor lesson plans within it, all the most relevant research papers. Basically, it's there to support schools to get outside. That's very much what it's for. We produce our own resources that are curriculum related, and so we have different guidebooks, again, encouraging teachers to go outside. So we have a number of different programs that we run. So we have Forest School Awards, we have accreditation, we have local area forest school networks, we have forest school families, we have intergenerational forest schools, so we have trees for schools, nature ranger clubs, teacher training, and we have Clandeboye Nature Rangers. So we run a lot of different programs, to try and cater for everything. So a Forest School Awards is our outreach program. That's where we identify schools that are interested in taking part. We engage with the schools. Say Caoimhe and Danielle, they go out to schools and they work with a couple of days with the teachers and their class in their outdoor setting. And they basically give the teachers the confidence to be able to go out themselves. That's what this is all about. This is very much a self-help program. We will set them up, but it's very much that the school takes it on board and runs with it. And we'll try and support them as best that we can. Okay, so we give them starter school kit bag, we look at their setting, we get them prepared to do it, and we give them ongoing support. Okay, and we do this. We developed our first, the first and only forest school qualification in Northern Ireland. I had to go over to England. I won a bursary back in 2004 or something like that, and it cost them like £2,000 for me to go over to England to get trained as a forest school leader. So it's just not practical for that to happen. So that's why we felt it was important that Northern Ireland has its own qualification relevant to its own setting and its own curriculum. With all of our programs, we probably support about 5,000 pupils going out every month. So that's where the teachers and the families are taking their kids outside. There are now over 230 accredited forest schools in Northern Ireland. So that's like, a quarter of the Northern Ireland education system. So that's good. And there's no hint that demand is dropping. No, there really isn't. Demand is as strong as ever. And there are probably another 500 schools in total 500 schools that we've worked with so far since 2008. Okay, so we have quite a large following, if you like. And during that time, we have trained, accredited and supported 500 teachers to become level 3 forest school leaders. So basically, once a school has a forest school leader within their setting, they are an official forest school. So that's really what it is. And Nick, your wife, is a forest school leader. This is great. So, who funds us? Since about 2016, half of the councils fund us, and they allow us to take out about 30 schools annually. And we've recently had Northern Ireland Environment Agency funding to match what we already had in place. So that gives us approximately 60 to 65 schools that we can support for free every year. So the schools don't have to pay anything. So we provide that service completely free. So we raise the funds from other sources. But it's not about a one-stop. This isn't about just, okay, you've got your forest school leader in place. That's not what it's about. This is about, that's the first step off the journey. So every year we have an accreditation scheme. And again, it depends on how involved the school is. But there's elder, birch and oak awards. So it just depends how often the school go out and how many teachers are involved. But we want the whole school to become involved in forest school. So it starts off where there's one teacher, probably, that's really passionate about getting outdoors. But then over time, they mentor the other teachers and the other key stages within the school, so as they start taking the whole school out. There's just not one teacher, it is a whole school concept. And again, it costs £100 per teacher to go through that process as well. So it's absolutely affordable. It's not very, very expensive. And say the accreditation, we charge the school £100 a year to stay a member of NIFSA, and that contributes to our funding. Historically, we would have always had a conference here at Clandeboye for our forest schools, but we've become such a size now that even here isn't large enough. So we're now developing local area forest school networks, LAFs, around basically the old education board areas. So we're developing those in October. So the idea is that there will be smaller cluster groups, but those cluster groups again are there to support each other. So hopefully they will mentor each other. Hopefully they will apply for joint applications. They will share resources. They will share expertise. Just all sorts of things. The idea is that we're going to drive this forward in October. So we put out a call 3 weeks ago that these are happening. So they're going to happen like Belfast Castle here and whatever. And we've had over 220 schools registered so far to become part of LAFs. So demand is still there and the engagement is still there. We got a little bit of funding from a grant body called LTF, and that's allowing us to pay for the premises and to pay for meals on the day. Forest school families, that very much happened during COVID times. Danielle and Caoimhe and Lorraine would have been posting an activity every day. So we don't want that engagement with nature just to stop at the school. We want it to continue outside as well with the parents, with the family. So Caoimhe, she would publish a wee newsletter every month that goes out. We have 1,000 forest school families that are registered with us. So it's all free, there's no cost or anything to the families. And it just gives them an idea of what they can do whenever they go outside just using natural materials. So again, there's no expense in terms of having to buy specialist equipment. There's no special training or skills required. So again, it's very valuable time. And it's quality time that is spent with their family. It really is. So a lot of people are having forest school birthday parties and things like that. Intergenerational forest schools. So this is where we're engaging the older generation, people that live in foals, nursing homes and people like that, out with primary schools, because it's so important to get that whole intergenerational thing. Myself and Caoimhe were up in Newcastle at Radius Fold yesterday, and it was absolutely brilliant. So all children's primary school, integrated primary school, they were at Radius Fold, and we planted some plants, and we're going to be doing a series of programmes with them. But afterwards we sat down with the older folk, of which I am now one, and they all had an absolutely brilliant time. They loved it. Just hearing about, just even saying, just having the kids around them, hearing the kids laugh, keeps them young, keeps them youthful. And the kids get so much from it as well, because they hear about the experiences of the older people. So Radius Housing pay for that. So that's an annual programme of events that will run out across Northern Ireland, working with 3 or 4 folds every year. Trees for Schools, again, Energy Store, a private company. They pay for us to plant 2,000 trees within the school estate. So that works. But it has its challenges. I have to say, working with the EA Estates section is quite difficult. So it's tricky, this one, I have to say. It is tricky, but it's so important. Emma might recount her experiences of how she's planted her trees in her school. Nature Ranger Clubs. Again, all this is about affordability and accessibility and all. So what we want is for the schools, once they become a forest school, is to set up an after-school club. So we support the school to set up an after-school club. And the school might only charge £1 or something like that for the kids to be out between 2 and 3 and 3 and 4. We provide them with extra kit and a uniform, cover the insurance, give them ideas and stuff like that. But again, it provides affordable childcare, but also gets children outside again, and gives the parents a bit of space if they need. So again, we've had lottery funding in the last 3 years to help us set up that, but we will continue that. We get £1 or £2 per booking from that, so that will eventually add up to, probably won't cover costs, but it's something that we feel is very, very valuable, and we're going to invest in that as well. Because, say, some of the most disadvantaged areas are the one that need it the most, and therefore, if it's only £1 or something like that for the family, it's accessible. Teacher training. We do teacher training in Stranmillis and University of Ulster. We've developed a suite of qualifications. So one of them is level 1, Introduction to Forest Schools. Again, there's no pressure on Stranmillis or Ulster University or St Mary's to get involved in this. Basically, these are our lecturers who are passionate about outdoor education, so they pay for us to come in and do that. But it's only because there are particular passionate lecturers that enable us to do that. And even then, the students then have to pay for their own qualification. So it costs £40 for an Open College Network qualification. So if the student wants that, they have to pay for that themselves. Okay? So there's an element of teacher training, but far from it. So we have a turnover of about £250,000 a year. I estimate that for every £1 we raise from the schools, we generate £15 in return. And our income is mainly, say, we have about 200 schools that are now subscribers to us, that are members. We have Forest School Awards, we have Nature Ranger Clubs, Intergeneration, whatever. So it's all funding that we've generated ourselves through Clandeboye Nature Rangers and through Nature Club Ranger bookings and all. I'd say we generate probably over half of our income ourselves just by the work that we do. Okay. So I haven't even mentioned impact, so that's what the next presentations are about. But that's just an overview of what we do. Okay. Richard?
Yeah, much Brian. Do you want me to, Richard, over to you? Do you want to?
Where do you want me to present?
I'll go up here.
I've got some slides.
Absolutely, that's good.
More pictures than So I'm manager here at Clandeboye. So a bit of background to how we ended up here. Obviously we wouldn't hear like Brian, but Lady Dufferin was a keen advocate and patron of Northern Ireland Forest School Association. She invited us on the estate to allow children into nature and let them see nature, be one with nature. And if she had her wish, the children would have just gone into the forest, and parents would pick them up at some point maybe on the Rathcoole Road, whatever. But we came on board and we started in 2018 here. And my background and the team here, our background was in after schools and childcare. So we wanted to register here as a childcare provider, and we went through a couple of social workers on our way, but we got them up to the forest, we showed them what we wanted, we showed them how we could change a 1840-ish built building into a childcare provider, which we did. So we were registered in September 2018, and we've got a lot of acres to play with. We've got our own little forest spaces. However, we've only registered for 21 children a day due to the size of the building that we allow the children to go into, change into waterproofs, and then we go to the forest for the rest of the afternoon, which we'll hopefully see later. And basically the afternoons are spent in the forest. They climb trees, they do arts and crafts with natural materials, they'll den build, they will cook on the campfire, they will play. And that is what our motive is, to let them play, and let them play outside, let them take risks in a managed situation by us. We are there to facilitate them, we are there to help them tie something, help them make something, anything like that. We are, as I say, registered, so parents book in, and those children will come regularly every week for the school term. We pick up from local schools, we've got a couple of electric vans, we go out and pick them up, bring them back, and they spend the afternoon playing. We play when it is raining, and it really just rains, so that's don't need to worry about the sun. Today though, you have definitely done something. I don't know what someone was rubbing, but keep rubbing it. We definitely play in the rain, and we love it. So we started with 21 a day. The problem is we can only have 21 a day, and we're now waiting lists. We've got about 1,500 children on our booking system. So our school holidays, we will open from 9 till 3 every day. And we've got about 1,500, about 740 families use us at some point in the last few years, or plan to use us. And we can take from P1 to P7, so 4 till 12. And we are unique because I'm sure you've heard from childcare providers that struggle and don't get the numbers in. We do get numbers in, but we do have the same struggles, and I'll come on to that. But what we find is we are a little bit different. We're a unique experience, and that's what sort of is our selling point. So that's what we do, and that's what the kids do. They explore, they investigate, they challenge themselves, all in the freedom of the forest that we have. Then COVID, that came along unexpectedly, and we were in a unique position because we were outside the whole time, so basically we didn't go inside at all. And schools contacted and said, "Here, we can't go on any trips. Can we come to you in our bubbles with just our class, with just our teacher?" And we were like, "Yeah, well, risk assess it, but sure." So we started in 2020 doing school trips, and now we have school trips nearly every morning. We did 90 P4s this morning, and we have between 30 and 90 basically now 3 times a week. That's from nursery all the way up to P7, and they'll come out. Some schools, all classes come out, some classes come out multiple times, and it is child-led, free play in the forest. They'll maybe do a s'more, and they'll maybe learn about dandelions, which we're doing today. But it's all outside. We then extend out to families, and we've had family days, we've had small groups. The Trust have come out with small groups, like a diabetes group or children who are in the fostering programme, they've come out. Multiple different groups. Action Deaf Youth were recently out, and they brought 80 families to the forest for a celebration of National Sign Language Week. So it's really endless possibilities of who we have. Now, it would be remiss of me not to bring it up, as we are a childcare provider, and I'm sure you love hearing about it. I will start with, I don't have the answers, I'm sorry, but I just wanted to express from my perspective and from our perspective here at, as an after-school provider, in the South Eastern Trust, who is inspected annually, sort of where we come from at this. So if we even break it down, obviously early is very important. It's early years from babies up, but we're after school, and childcare doesn't stop at 4 and 5. We see parents still struggling with work through till the child is 12, and then they go to big school, and then it's sort of okay. Now our registration goes all the way to 12, and I've noticed in the last few years, I've worked after schools now for 20 years, and 20 years ago you'd never see an 11 or 12-year-old in our after school. Too old, too cool. Parents were like, oh, they'll be okay, they have an older sibling in the house, they'll be grand. I'm noticing in our summer schemes, we have older children attending, 11s, 12s, who are maybe even going into first year, who are maybe not quite 13, but the parent doesn't want to leave them on their own, so they come to after school. So the early part is very important, but it's the childcare runs throughout childhood. Then we get into the vetting and the ratios and things like that. And I'm sure you're well aware, all-party group talked about it last week. I was at a recruitment crisis yesterday and they were talking about it. It's the same things, childcare partnership, employers for childcare. We're all on the same page about ratios and room sizes and vetting, but from an after-school perspective, so I've told you we've got loads and loads of kids, loads of people want to come, but we have the same issues as everyone else. So vetting can take weeks, it can take months to get health declarations. And I think this is where it all goes a bit weird, because this is the Education Committee, but really I need to be talking to the Department of Health and the Health Committee, because they're the ones who register us. So you don't do the vetting, they do. But for schools, that's on you. And yet we're all on the same boat, looking after the same kids. So, an example, if we get vetted here, I can't help out in another school or another after school. We are unique, we are our own thing. So we have to go and get vetted every single time. There's no support register, there's no register of after school or childcare providers. You've got to do it all on your own. And that can take months. We have had people who've wanted to do it, but then give up. We've had people who've gone really far, got their health declaration, but no, we mental health issue, not going to go any further. And things like that are just barriers that stop great people working in a great profession. And I'll come on to it later on, probably the value of childcare is pretty low. It's just not valued. It's a choice people are making, and they're not choosing to take it because they don't value it. But why would they? We've got low pay, people who want to work in it don't see any value in working in it. The pay's not great, some of the standards aren't great, the practice might not be good, but it's because it all adds up together. Now, that's just my perspective, and people I talk about, I'm sure you've heard it before, and we've got ratios, we're 1 to 10, okay, so I've got my level 5, working here in the industry for 20 years. The deputy manager, she's been working on it longer, she's got her level 5. We're still 1 to 10, and then it's 2 to 20. Now, that's fine, but if we then bring in 21, so that one little space we've got, another member of staff, and then we've got 9 empty spaces, but we can't physically fill them. So that's a loss for us. But the ratios, the size of the room, as you'll see later, hopefully, acres of forest up there, only allowed 21, because that's the size of the room. Okay? Schools, classrooms, after school, teachers or instructors, that doesn't exist. So if I went into the Nature Ranger Club or a hockey club in a school, 1 to 10 does not exist. I could be on my own. I can't be on my own in our set. And it's that mix that I don't get. So when it comes around to minimum standards, reviews, and all those things, that's just my bit. And it would have been remiss of me not to say it. So why do we do it? That's dead easy. That's the easiest question for me every time. Yeah, and I don't even think I need to explain it. It's fun, and it's proven very, very exciting here at Clandeboye. So yeah, so I'll leave you there. All right.
Jim, you're up next. Do you have a presentation, or are you going to go from here?
I'm doing it from a sitting position. Is that all right?
Yeah, that's absolutely
I've
fine.
had a long day. Come from school.
Richard says, brilliant. Sure. Just look at the kids. What are you talking about? It sounds like the easiest job in the world.
I'm going to give you a counter narrative to that. Thanks very much. Do you know what? There's a couple of things I was listening to Richard and Brian. It just, I arrived about 3 hours ago, thank you, Brian, and I have been here for about 6 months. And to see what they've done to this place in such a brief period of time, and hopefully you get the opportunity to go and see just a unique learning experience, or learning venue they have out there for children in this area. Take the opportunity. It is absolutely superb. I haven't seen anything like it. A couple of things strike my head right here is the fact that we're talking about the benefits and being advocates for outdoor learning. We started this, Brian and I met in 2007. That guy over there, holding his two fingers, he's an RAF pilot now. He went to my school in 2007. So, yeah, you wouldn't want to mess with him now. But we became Northern Ireland's first forest school in 2007. And it's now 2014. I've been to a couple of these committees before, talking hopefully with a bit of passion and a wee bit of understanding about how critically important it is to create space within our schools for children to connect with their natural heritage. We've been doing it for a long time now, so here we go again. I mean, we wouldn't be having this discussion about, I've got an idea about, the promotion of physical exercise to promote a healthy lifestyle for children, or let's encourage children to eat less salt and less fat. I think we know that. The evidence has been compelling for a long time. The evidence is equally compelling about children having repeated experiences in their natural environment for a number of reasons. Hopefully we'll touch them later on. The other thing is, do you say 230 schools?
Yeah.
Okay, so Brian spoke to me in 2007, there was one school. Now there's 230. I don't know what the estate is, the primary school estate, but that's getting close to over 50%, I reckon, that these guys have been working with. I cannot go to meetings these days, including the meeting with the ETI, actually Julie Harris, my new district inspector, without Forest School and this group of people in Clandeboye Estate being mentioned about in a positive way about the impact they're having on children. Anyway, that said, my name's Jim McDaid. I'm the principal of Hazelwood Integrated Primary School, and we were in 2007 first forest school in Northern Ireland. Delighted that there's another 229. That's significant. The first couple of things I want to show you is just quote the curriculum right back at you. This is your curriculum that you're responsible for. When we first started looking at this, I remember thinking, teachers are going to crack up because there's going to be something else for them to do. And there was an easy way to get teachers to crack up is getting to do things they think they have to do because they don't see the relevancy of it. There's one thing that we now understand about really good, high-quality teaching and learning is it's multi-sensory outdoors, it's collaborative outdoors, it's creative outdoors, it connects them with their natural world outdoors and connects in real-life context. These are all factors that show that there's high-quality teaching and learning going on. So what I'm saying is teachers have considerable flexibility to select from learning areas and those aspects to consider appropriate. This is straight out of the Northern Ireland revised curriculum. So what I'm saying is we have a curriculum that is skills-based, not so much knowledge-based, so allows teachers to have the flexibility to do this. So there isn't a school would be able to say that runs counterproductive what we're trying to do. This complements the learning experiences that teachers are striving to do in their classrooms. But for one thing we know about learning is that it's deeper and more profound if it's emotional, because learning at its best is not just cognitive, but it's emotional. And sometimes you can't do that in the classroom. And getting outside is where the deep, profound learning experience is happening. Trust me, I've been doing it for long enough. So the first couple of slides were straight out of your curriculum, guys. So it's relevant and it runs parallel to everything that we're expected to do as part of the statute delivery of the curriculum, Northern Ireland, the primary curriculum. Last slide, Brian. Sorry, not the last slide. You'll not get off the hook that easily. The next one's from Jill Humes. I don't know if you've come across this quote. We go through that. That's the Northern Ireland curriculum. Guys, I could show that and talk your way through it. But what I'm saying is, the bottom line is, outdoor learning complements and creates really rich opportunities to deliver the Northern Ireland curriculum. The next slide, Brian, is we had Dr. Gillian Humes. She was then the Belfast Education Library Board Science Advisor. And it's probably, if you haven't seen this quote, it's probably worth taking half a minute of your time. If you don't, I'll read it to you. She had endorsed this such a long time ago. And every school should see that. Every school leader should see that. That what Brian and Forest School are attempting to do will not only complement what you're expected to do in class, but actually really provide in a really deep, deep way and profound. And we're always after the profound learning and not the shallow learning. And you're more likely to have that if you have all those multisensory, emotional engagements, creative, collaborative. We're talking about taking children outside. The other thing is, I know I'm going to have a tangent here. What's the greatest global health threat on the planet today? We're just come back from a pandemic, but it's climate change. And increasingly, we're expecting our younger generation to take responsibility for a world that we've messed up. They are indifferent and they are apathetic about their natural heritage because they spend most of their time indoors. The leisure time is indoors. Even our parks tend to be indoors. So increasingly, we have a generation upon generation of children who are indifferent or uncaring about their natural world. So how do we expect them to be custodians of their natural world and take responsibility for it, to care for it, if they don't have a connection or a love for it? And that's a really important part of what we should be doing in schools, building a relationship between their world and the natural world. Once again, you can only do that if you create opportunities for children to learn outdoors. Then, I think the next slide is this. Anybody recognise that date? You are in the Education Committee, so I hope you could tell me what is that date.
Lockdown day, is it?
What is that date? Why is that significant?
First the schools closed, was it?
Correct, well done. That was the schools closed in COVID. So the schools closed for 16 weeks. Now what has this got to do with it? Because they opened again, I think it was the 16th of August. And if you remember, all the patterns of life, the things we took for granted, relationships, friendships, the things we used to do, stopped. And then on the 16th of August, our children came back, and we were delighted to see them back. But something was very different when our children came back. Next slide, Brian. The Cave Hill. Do you remember during lockdown when your restaurants and your gyms and stuff, do you remember you went to places? You went to a river, you went to a wood, you went to the Mourns, you went to Cave Hill. Cave Hill is close to where I live. And it was full of people. And I spoke to people in the Cave Hill. And I can't tell you how many people I spoke to in the Cave Hill had never been up the Cave Hill, and they live in Belfast. So we found these places. They were always there, but we rediscovered them. The scales fell off my eyes. I said, Jesus, I had no idea that this made me feel the way it did. And we know the reason why we did that. Yes, it was to get out of the house. But there was something more enduring, more compelling about that, because it made us feel good. It made us feel good. And that's the point we're trying to make. So at Hazelwood, we're trying to look at, increasingly we look at, what's the science behind learning? What's the science behind it? What happens to a child if you're sitting talking to them for an hour? By the way, one of the things we worked out is that a child has a concentration span of 2 minutes plus their chronological age. So if you teach them P7, you've lost them after about 12 minutes. They're gone. Adults have, you've got concentration spans not much different. So you've been sitting in this room, I don't know how long, but you're probably on your phone. I don't know what you're doing right there. You're not listening to me. But your concentration span is gone. So here's what we're attempting to do is understand the science behind learning. And there's something we found out quite recently, because we're a big bag of water and enzymes and all sorts of stuff, but in our bodies there are these three things: endorphins, serotonins and dopamines. So at school we're trying to find out what relevancy, what impact do these things have on children's ability to learn. We want to find out why children learn and why they don't learn. Now, when you went up to Cave Hill and you went to the Mourns, you went that river, those special places, the reason you felt good is because your body started triggering these things called neurotransmitters. Don't ask me what a neurotransmitter is. I'm a Google scholar like yourself. But there's a neurotransmitter, endorphins. And so these are the things that make us feel good. They lower our stress, they improve our mood, improve our motivation, reduce anxiety, enhance our well-being. Serotonin does exactly the same thing. When you went for those walks during COVID and you came back and said, geez, I feel really good about that, that's because somewhere in your body these things were being released. Then we got to think, is this not what outdoor learning, all those wonderful opportunities you had to do this in COVID, in lockdown, why are we not? What were the lessons in that? So the lessons were that we should reconnect with our natural heritage. And we knew what was going to happen when our gyms opened again, our restaurants opened again. Those places that made us feel good, those things that sustained us, kept us sane. Are we still going back to those places? Well, I go to Caoimhe quite a bit, and I don't see too many people up there. It was packed. And all those people told me that there was something about this place that made me feel good. So what has that got to do with outdoor learning, forest school, everything? Because this is what happens in these children's bodies when we take them outside. They feel less stressful. They feel good about themselves. And surely that's what we want in our children. Because children learn best when they come to a school where they feel safe and they don't feel stressed. Now, I have a nurture unit in school for children who need to regulate emotionally, and it's brilliant. But I also have this big outdoor space in school. Now, the evidence and science is telling me that if I take them out, that I could actually do something about their levels of anxiety and stress. So why am I not doing it? Why am I not doing it? When they came back from COVID, we had problems with lower attendance, lower attainment. We still have all these things, significant increase in SEN. My SEN's gone up by 32%. Before COVID, I had 18 classroom assistants. I have now 52 classroom assistants. I was saying to some of my colleagues the other day, we don't even have enough toilets in the school for 52 classroom assistants, top of the 30 teachers we have. I don't have enough toilets. When they came back after COVID, increasing complexity of pastoral issues, you can read these yourselves. Loss of play skills, children forgot how to play. No, they didn't forget, they weren't taught. Separation anxiety, they didn't want to come to school. They missed all the socialisation that the early years can only provide with their friends and their family networks. And we had to pick all this up. So what I'm saying is they came back with increased rates of anxiety and stress, which complicated their learning. So what I'm saying is we needed to think of a way of tackling that. So we had one target, well, 3 targets. This is the second target when we came back from COVID. And it was simple. The restorative and therapeutic properties of being in natural places is well documented. Indeed, during lockdown, many people realised that they could get their nurture from nature. Your cave hill, your rivers, your moorns. The focus will now be using the outdoors as a therapeutic learning space to support our pupils. I'm telling you, we've all got something that will reduce anxiety and stress and the complexities that our children now have as a result of COVID. And it doesn't cost an awful lot. But not only will it make them feel good about themselves, they become better learners. And that seems to me to be something we need to look at. That seems to me something that should be a priority in the school. One of the things we did, simple. We built a fire, and kids sat around the fire. And there was something about it. I remember sitting around the fire with the kids, in our heritage, in this part of the world, storytellers were revered because they sat around fires and shared oral tales of this place. And there was something about a fire and a marshmallow and children start talking. Now, you can't measure that. Children start talking. And that was just with a marshmallow on a fire. We've continued this. I was saying to someone the other day that this is our fire pit. I accidentally said taken from space. Obviously it wasn't. We heard a drone. But I actually said it was taken from space. That's our children round a fire. And there was something really cathartic, and there was something really, really special that happened when our children came back from COVID and started to form relationships and build relationships again, which many of them had forgotten. So what I'm saying is, last thing. Okay, sorry, I know I'm on waffle mode here in a second. So what we set up, this is really important, because I could sit here all day and talk about sort of the anecdotal evidence of what happens in my school. So do we have any evidence for it? So, my school, and Emma's does the same, many schools will do this. It's a pupil attitude to self in school. We assess our pupils begin the year, how confident they feel about the curriculum, how confident about they feel about themselves as learners, how happy they are to be in school. It's called a PASS, P-A-S-S. Any child is red is a concern, green, great. So what we started to do at Hazelwood is any child who's been identified in September as being red, there's two ways we can do this. We have a counsellor in school with a waiting list as long as your arm. So we thought, hang on, what about the apothecary outside our door, the wood, the space? So we thought, we're not going to get these guys in counselling. And you saw the news last week, Bernardo's Time for Me, gone. Happy Healthy Minds, gone. Counselling has gone. And our demand for it has never been greater. And the funding has never been less. So we thought, join the dots. What was that about serotonin and endorphins and that experience of lockdown? Let's take them outside. So we identified those children and we give them a quick assessment. So the next assessment is 6 questions there. We ask the child, I don't have mine here, I do. So simple questions. Do you enjoy coming to school every day? Do you sometimes worry about school? Do you like to meet new friends? Are you sometimes nervous when you learn new things? Do you like to speak out in class? Do you like to take the lead in class? And do you ever feel shy in class? These are the kids who are being identified as red. And what do we do with them? We took them outside for 8 weeks. Now, we took them outside for 8 weeks with people who are really good about doing things outside, like these guys. And then we measured them against that benchmark figure after 8 weeks. So, do you enjoy coming to school every day? 1 child said yes in September. 7 said yes in December. Do you sometimes worry about school? 8 said yes in September. 2 said yes in December. Do you like to meet new friends? 4 said yes. You can read that yourselves, guys. But the evidence was overwhelming. Just by going outside, we were able to support these children. But the thing is, we don't have enough. We have a lot of children who need support. So I'm saying that what we're asking for is just really simple. Understand, please, what these guys do every single day and support schools as they attempt to develop the outdoor learning. 20 years ago, we were probably called humus-eating, tree-hugging people, but it's not. It's much more than that. It always was. We always knew it was much more than that because the evidence now tells us that these children, anxiety and stress and poor relationship they have about school is alleviated and supported by just taking them outside, and having outdoor learning is a very critical point of their learning experience. So that's what we do in Hazelwood. Thank you for listening.
Thank you, Jim.
Thank you, Jim. I mean, it's fantastic to hear from someone who's been on this journey with the Forest School from the outset. I think it is great to see just the impact that's had on your school through the whole journey with the Forest School movement. So great to hear from you. We are at risk of time beating us, but I want to bring Emma in to make sure. We are really keen to hear. So please, Emma, if you can share your experience from your school.
This Wi-Fi works.
Well, my name's Emma, first of all, before it starts. I've been a teacher at Rathcoole Primary School for 25 years. And I know I don't look it, really sure I don't bear in it. I've been lucky enough to be in a position of principal for the past 9 years, and the last 4 proving to be in a permanent role. Our school motto is nurture, inspire and flourish. And on that at the back there, I had to write all mine down because I'm nearly 50 and maybe couldn't forget it. Our ethos and our mission statement is that we're devoted to ensuring that every child is nurtured and inspired to flourish and achieve in their own unique way. We're proud of our inclusive learning environment where every child matters and their free voice is heard. I'm going to go to, is this touch screen? Hold on, let's start it here. Okay, gosh.
Working, Emma?
Yeah. Well, here, do you know, we'll just click at the bottom one, never worry. Okay, it's okay, never worry with So whenever the next picture comes up, where do you work? Rathcoole. All you get is, oh dear, God, that must be really hard, and you get a real look of pity. And over the last 10 years in particular, we have spent an awful lot of time bringing back the name of Rathcoole again. We were a school that really weren't near closure whenever I took over. Morale was down in the Boots with under 60 kids in the main school, and we were basically, it was bonkers, was the only word I can say. We are part of Rathcoole, which used to be one of the biggest housing estates in Europe. I suppose at the minute it's a loyalist community that's endeavouring to work together to promote change within a changing community. We'll go to the next one. Sorry, folks. The joys of technology. There we go. Paramilitaries are still very present within the area, and sadly, a lot of the children and the families within our area who are not looking at the murals, this is one that's directly opposite our school. Despite living really close to Hazelwood and Lockshore, many of our kids don't need the safety of the estate. They grew up in there. When I stepped up what I thought was going to be a temporary post in the summer 2015, the caretaker principal and the VP had left at a maternity leave and a long-term sick leave, and the kids were coming in 2 days' time, and I was like, what are we going to do? We had 69% roughly of free school meals and around 60% SEN, and something had to change. Our school had to reclaim its purpose. In fact, we didn't actually put up our Union Jack until about 3 years ago. It tore to bits just with the weather, and I kept being reminded of the Union Jack, the Union Jack. Union Jack didn't go up because we weren't being dictated to by the community. We were within the community and serving the community. We had to become a school again, and our tagline now is called More Than Just a School, because that's what I feel that we've done through Forest School. Okay. Training is essential for Forest School, and we were really lucky to have security funded places through at that stage the Public Health Agency, and myself and a now senior teacher took that on board. Initially, particularly over COVID came, I had this vision of getting everybody in the school trained, and let's get all the assistants and all the teachers. Doesn't work out that way, but however, with regular sessions, etc., led by us, we got the staff on board and we created that culture of Forest School. Brian and the team at that stage opened up and funded for us so many opportunities to help us along the way. So now we're careful timetabling, we ensure that all classes from nursery to primary 7, including our 2 ASC provisions, are out at least once a week. We plan weekly sessions for them all. In fact, one of the pupils, the little boy just in the middle one with the glasses, he joined our spin just at the start of this year. And because he's integrating with the mainstream, and I say that in inverted commas through Forest School, he now is able to go into the literacy sessions, he's now able to go into the numeracy sessions, and actually the little boy in the middle is joining our mainstream school now and actually leaving spin provision. I put that down to being outdoors and having those opportunities without the pressure. That's real inclusion at work with it. And it wouldn't have worked as well if we didn't have those opportunities planned for our children. If you've ever been at Rathcoole, had the lucky privilege to visit the school, our school grounds were shocking. We are sit on a huge amount of space, and we know at the minute that ground is money. And it wasn't being utilised and wasn't being used. They're immense, there were very few trees, nothing of interest, concrete everywhere. We began initial planning through minor works. We were in line to have a traffic management system, which we're now not getting because the budget's not there. But that aside, we were able to get fencing put up, and that I suppose started to zone out our space a little bit more. Space was a premium, we had lots of it, but at that stage it wasn't fit for purpose. So a longer term vision had to be planned out to really retain the playground, but also to look at the huge amount of grass area that we had within our school. Ensuring outdoor space is a priority in any new building, and I know that we're incredibly lucky with the ground that we have, but it is imperative when you're future planning to make sure that there is set aside space outside and that is fit for purpose with it. With support from Woodland Trust, conservation volunteers, Forest School Association, Trees for Ireland, in fact anyone who was offering free trees, we took the first steps to literally grow our own forest. And as COVID hit, exactly as Jim said, this is really how it all escalated in the first place, and we really hit the ground running. But careful management of our extended schools money at that time as well permitted the purchase and installation of the outdoor classroom and also the polytunnel that you can see as well. I'm now blacklisted from extended schools for spending so much on items, but again, that's a fight that I'm willing to have. But Brian and the team have been absolutely central to this. So the planting begins every time new trees arrive. Staff hide. Emma, how many are coming now? Oh, it's just 400 at the minute. I was out a few Saturday nights ago in my not my swim gear, my swimming jacket, in the lashing rain on a Saturday night, digging holes just to get them finished up. But that's what we do. When I look outside my office, this is what I can see, and it's brilliant. You've got the bare trees obviously in the winter time, but coming into this time of the year, it is amazing. The foliage, the insects, the birds, the growth that's around with that. We take part in wildlife watching, forest exploring, insect hunting, worm investigating, and so much more. And again, Brian, as you can see from there, was absolutely fantastic at coming and helping out with that. It takes time and energy. And when I first stepped into this role, I thought that I had to do everything myself, because that's what a principal does. You don't. And it's been a real learning curve for me in terms of the community. In fact, I've left today, and there's been 2 community workers, shall we say, are helping with with the ironing there. They're helping with the lawnmower. They're helping with getting rid of some rubbish around the place with that. And only last week they went out with their P6 and their 7 pupils and really reset our polytunnel again and got rid of the stuff that we just don't have time to do. The children are absolutely brilliantly involved in this. They're out weeding, brushing, digging, planting, and the willingness to take part in what we do. And I suppose the investment in the community, now that we are a school in the community, it's absolutely immense. Now, if ETI come in, what would they be asking me? What would they be saying to me? Would they be asking me about who was helping out? I know who they are coming in, and I'm more than happy to have the guys that are helping coming in, because they're doing it for the community. With a beautiful boat that was donated to us a number of years ago, and actually it's lovely. This is our boat of hope, is what we call it, and every child or family donated, and whenever these come into flower, they are there to help represent, I suppose, the people that were lost during COVID. And it's a lovely wee reminder with a parent seating area that's now going to be donated and really filled in with the trees, just in memory of our community. So we're giving back and we're engaging with them. We talked again about looking after the environment, and the importance of the environment and looking after your surroundings. It's essential in today's world. And one of the rules of forest school is obviously leave no trace. Leave it as you find it and disturb nothing. Our children through forest school and through eco schools attend regularly to the litter. This isn't the caretaker out picking it up. This is our kids. They have lobbied council for new bins outside the school. The amount of nonsense from dog fishies, from the bags of poo that you get through with it, from vapes to bottles of beer to syringes that are found. We've trained our children, we've got the right equipment, and they are supervised. Those are the types of things that we collect in regular, because we take pride in the school that we are part of. I'm going to tell you a wee bit just about some of our kids. I did a few case studies. This is Joe. We're a Boxall nurture school, and nurture is embedded in everything that we do. Joe's autism, he's in P7. He's the youngest from a family of 8. He finds school incredibly difficult. He doesn't trust adults. He's trouble concentrating, and he often chooses to opt out of classes and sit out. He lacks self-esteem and self-work. He can get angry, volatile, aggressive. He's been to CAMS, he's in planned reintegration, AAIS, behaviour support, and he's statemented. And he's worn his foot up like that in school for years. His mum used to tell us that he hates getting his hair cut. His sister works at our school and not long had a baby. His mum passed away on the 13th of April last year of cancer. This is the first time, only about 3 days ago, that Joe has taken part independently in a forest school activity, and he chose to paint the storage box for the soil that we're getting refilled up, and he's doing it on his own. And I had to sneak behind him to get the picture and then ask his sister permission today. The next one we're going to look at is Ben. Now, Ben was one of our first pupils that were to start doing outdoor learning. Ben loves the mud. He's now 14. This was him whenever he was in P2. He's autistic, ADHD, and again has a statement. He came from a loving home, but had trauma, separated family, angry behaviour, and he found school hard. For him, the forest school was his happy place with it. And Forest School is supposed to be obeying permission, just to be itself. We're going to look at Peter. Peter's with us at the minute, and he looks like an absolute angel in that. He's actually the face of one of our banners. But Peter's two younger siblings at school. One is in P5, has huge anxiety. The youngest P3 has autism and is due to move to a local STEM setting within hopefully the next number of weeks. They all have attachment with trauma and ACEs. Peter used to head out. I've been called an F and so-and-so, I don't know how many times with it. Foul language and sweats with his way of getting attention. Peter trusts nobody, and he's always on high alert. Through forest schools and through the outdoor learning, along with the support from adults and working with home, Peter relaxes. He starts to chill. He engages with his peer groups in a much more settled manner. Peter in the outdoors has absolutely nothing to prove. There's no expectations and no unnecessary demands put on him. He's engaged and happy in the learning. And the really good thing is, some of the guys that are on the top right-hand photograph were there whenever we first started to plant our trees, are now actually the ones in the bottom photograph, like 5 years later, who are actually playing amongst the trees that's now grown. We're Take 5 school as well, and everywhere you look, this is the message of embodiment. Take 5, take 5, take 5, through health service, through the behaviour plans, and this is the route that we're all going down. So these are some of our P6 and P7, and it must have been after maybe, I don't know, the 12th there with the hair really coloured with the previous boy, but anxiety and the learning difficulties, some of them are sitting CI tests, some of them are stated, really complex needs. But every one of them engages in the lessons with them, and through these weekly forest school lessons, they're crucial to the holistic development of the children. And as Take 5 school, we know the importance of having those areas. So again, through the investment of Brian and the team, the continually funded support and access to great resources, the willingness to share planning, work collaboratively, that gave me the push that I needed to do to help keep pushing the children, and knowing that actually we were doing the right thing. And being in Rathcoole, okay, maybe our scores aren't always the best, maybe a lot of our kids don't necessarily go to grammar school, and you doubt yourself, you keep thinking we're doing the right thing, but you know, passion for our kids, I can 100% say we are. So this is Mary and Stacey, single parent family of 6 kids, poverty, brought along Christmas gifts, etc. to them, trained in mental health first aid, and whenever I first asked the question to one of the girls' mums, have you ever had thoughts of ending your life? And being told, yes, Emma. I was lying up in the graveyard last night. I was digging, I was trying to get into where my dad was because I thought life wasn't worth living and I wanted to end it. I'm not a good enough mum at the minute. When I'm running after saying, are you okay, you're not yourself today? And she's going, no, Emma, I'm meant to be at a psychology appointment today and I just don't know what to do. You look at pictures like that, and pictures like that matter. They're sharing, they're engaging, friendship, caring, and it matters, and this is all out in nature with that ethos that's there. So connected the learning together with that there. Now I don't know whether I'm meant to share that top left one or not. That was a little photograph from the ETA inspectors. It ties in, this is what they're really looking at. This is an area that we can choose to look at over the coming weeks and months whenever potentially inspectors come up. Our next slide really quickly is looking at really our nursery area from that as well. With that, we do a lot of family learning events, come together at Christmas time, singing around the fire. We've got the s'mores as well, we've got the fire and the go with it. A great time for coming together in community. So where's Rathcoole Primary School now in this? We're a school of 180, so we've grown. We've approximately 65% free school meals, over 50 state-limited pupils alone. And we've over nearly 65-70% in the SAN register, staffing's up to over 50, 2 new ASC provisions. Our needs are greater and more complex than ever before. But as a nurture school, we're trained, nurture, Solihull, trauma, mental health, being well, doing well, and relationships are the most important things. So, I suppose my question really to you, the challenge is yours. Are you going to look at outdoor learnings from now? How are you going to see forest schools now and in the future schools in Northern Ireland? We've only got one shot at this, so get on your wellies, get out. But the fact is, we maybe need more prisons that are more like schools and schools that are less like prisons. But for this to happen, the teachers, the leaders and the learners need the freedom. Brian and his team have been totally behind that. So as William Wallace said, teachers, I set you free. Let's see where it's going to take us. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Emma.
Thank thank you for that presentation. And I think, regrettably, time has beaten us. So I think we're maybe only going to have time to hear, I think, from Ian, who is the trustee at the Clandeboye Estate, but it would be very, very briefly, because I think committee do want to go out and see the outdoor learning area. Normally we'd follow up with a whole raft of questions, but we don't have time today. What I'm going to propose to members is that we get an opportunity in the next committee agenda, maybe to agree some follow-up actions, because I think there's an awful lot there that we would want to. Well, I mean, I think that's an invitation. We'd find it hard to refuse. So, but that was, I mean, really, really impressive accounts there of just the impact that getting kids outdoors to learn can have. So I think you've got a receptive audience here on that, and we will pick up at our next meeting in terms of actions that we can take forward. There's a lot of things there in terms of how we can maybe support your work going forward, and no doubt we'll be engaging with you again. Regrettably, time's beaten us, because we are keen to get outdoors and see the learning area. So I'm just going to pass to Ian very briefly for brief remarks, and then we'll close the session.
I suppose really I should explain that obviously Lady Dufferin was very keen on the idea of, particularly after her death, that Clandeboye would be used for a positive purpose, and with these guys I can think of no better positive purpose. It's making sure that we can use the assets that the estate has for good advantage. And I know for myself, when I see the kids running around and you hear their voices, it just makes such a difference. I hope it makes a difference to their lives. I suppose my regret is that is quite, and I'm conscious when I was sitting there, it's quite a small group of people. When you expand 21 people in each, it's not really enough. We are in the process of trying to build new purpose-built accommodation, which will increase that number, but it's still the tip of an iceberg, really. So these guys do a tremendous job. We do our best to try and help them, and I think now is the time for your wellies and. Well, actually, you don't need wellies. It's perfectly dry.
No, it's fine.
And have a look around.
Well, I think on that note, in terms of what's happening here, it is a tip of an iceberg, but it's what can maybe be learned from here and delivered in our schools on the ground. And I think it was great to hear from 2 urban schools who are delivering really meaningful outdoor learning. So I think the job of the committee is how we can maybe try and promote that work and follow that up with the department in terms of how they can start to prioritise that in terms of teacher training and in terms of rolling this out widely as possible. So we will certainly be taking that away, and we'll consider that at our next meeting in terms of follow-up actions. Thank you again for the warm welcome. I'm going to just conclude the formal business. Item 10, any other business? Do members have any other business? I'm hoping the answer to that will be no, so we can get outside. So that moves us on to item 11, which is date and time of next meeting, and that will be Wednesday the 8th of May, 2 p.m, room 29 in Parliament Buildings, if anyone wants to join us. And that just leaves me to put the question that the committee meeting does now adjourn. The members agreed? And now we can get outside. So thanks.